The worst horror movie I ever saw was fucking great.
Hello and welcome to This May Hurt a Bit. My name is James Strayer and this is
John C. Myers.
And we are a horror franchise podcast discussing each film in popular and not so popular horror franchises. And today we are talking about Silent Night, Deadly Night from 1984. And thanks to everybody for hanging around while we were on a brief travel hiatus. Thanks for not clicking unsubscribe. So John, we're heading into the Christmas season. I fully admit for my first time ever, I put up Christmas tree before Thanksgiving. I used to always scoff at those people, but you know, the world's hard and take joy where you can find it.
Yeah.
And I have always quite liked Christmas. Are you much of a Christmas guy?
I am very much a Christmas guy, but I live with someone who is very much not a Christmas person.
Yes.
And so, and we also have cats that get into stuff. So it's just easier to just not. I'm also very lazy though. So that helps.
Gotcha.
Like my whole family was pretty nuts for Christmas. And my mom used to decorate each room of the house slightly different.
Oh,
she would get way into it.
Nice.
We had this beanbag nativity that I would put my He-Man guys in. It was fun.
Perfect. So do you bring much into watching a horror movie about Christmas? Because for me, it's kind of one of those peanut butter and my chocolate things. I don't like to mix the two. I like some spooky Christmas things. Who doesn't love a Christmas Carol? And that's all about ghosts, you know?
Right.
And I definitely will break out some old M.R. James short stories and stuff like that. But I think I'm not really that into Christmas time slashers. So why am I watching 6 of these movies? Because it's a thing we have to do.
Yeah.
But I think part of me is just I like the coziness of Christmas, and there's nothing cozy about an axe-wielding Santa. And I think part of it is also sometimes I get slightly annoyed with people trying to take something cute and then going extreme with it, you know?
Right.
It just feels like everybody's just trying too hard a little bit. Having said all that, I did like this movie.
We generally will watch Santa's Sleigh, the Goldberg as Murderous Santa movie. It's not very good, but it's short and it's fun enough.
Yeah.
But yeah, there's no shortage of killer Santa movies even before this one came out.
Right.
It's hard to find the right mix of schmaltzy that works for me. Not a Hallmark Christmas movie kind of guy.
Sure.
Muppet Christmas Carol, that's always good.
Best of all time. Gremlins, that's another kind of Christmas horror movie, I suppose.
The He-Man Christmas special. Not horror, but there's scary moments in it. There's giant robots.
Yes. Yeah. That's scary. So yeah, up to this point, I did look up, and there was a few kind of Christmas horror that came out, because this came out in 84. And of course, Black Christmas was 1974.
Yes.
Which was pretty ahead of its time in a lot of ways.
It's a great horror movie. Directed by Bob Clark, who did another amazing movie, Death Dream, which is a great, creepy, post-Vietnam movie.
And of course, he also did A Christmas Story.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, he did
Christmas Story.
No Killer Santa in Black Christmas. But there were other ones. Have you ever seen Christmas Evil?
I have not.
There was one night, it was before I was flying back to the Midwest for the holidays. My partner Hazel and I were in a bar the night before I was going to leave, and it was on the TV, and just without sound on watched it. And it's a weird one. It's strange.
And that came out before Silent Night, Deadly Night? Got it.
Yeah, it was in 1980. It's similar to Silent Night, Deadly Night, that it's about a guy traumatized by his past that involves Santa, not Santa goes nutsoid.
Yeah, this film, it experienced quite a bit of pushback before it was even out, which I find pretty interesting. Yeah, a whole...
Yeah, huge backlash.
Yeah, and this is before the internet. But, there was an organization that was started called Citizens Against Movie Madness.
Yes.
And they were trying to get all of the television ads pulled. And eventually they succeeded and got the movie pulled early from its release, which is just insane.
Which is funny because when it first came out, it released the same day as Nightmare on Elm Street. And it actually did better.
Right.
Because of all the... Nightmare on Elm Street, to be fair, was in fewer theaters at that time. But all the negative publicity helped a ton.
Yeah. This just spread like wildfire. And of course, much like other occurrences of this, nobody had seen the movie.
Yeah.
So they had not seen the film, and they just wanted it pulled and not put out either way.
Right. Because there was the issue was that it was ads on TV. Yes. Featuring an evil Santa. And I remember being a kid and seeing this box art and being of the Santa Claus sleeve arm coming out of the chimney and blowing my mind.
Absolutely.
Like, why would you do that to Santa?
Right.
There was even a case of, I guess it ran in between like Three's Company and something like these two, like more family. It's odd to think of Three's Company as a family friendly thing, I guess, for that time. But yes, people were like, oh, my kid saw it and believes everything they see on TV, which, well, that's on you.
That's your fault.
So it's freaking them out. We got to get this movie pulled.
Yeah, and the disconnect being, and I find this pretty fascinating, but the disconnect is this, that all of the parents thought that it was actually Santa Claus that goes on a kill spree and not just a killer dressed up like Santa Claus. And that's an important distinction here.
Yeah. All the Santas in this are not the actual Santa.
Right.
As far as we know, Santa is still blameless and good.
Yes. So the director of this is a guy named Charles Sellier. I didn't know this until I looked this up after watching the movie this time. He was a Mormon, and he became an evangelical Christian not long after this. He had been a producer on a ton of like faith-based TV shows at the time. All kinds of like searching for the 10 Commandments, searching for Noah's Ark, and that kind of deal. Mm-hmm. I was not able to find his take on why he was pulled into this movie at all. And I'm really interested in knowing like how he like kind of talks about that. And I couldn't find any interviews with him about it.
Yeah, I mean, there are stories that he didn't shoot the grislier scenes.
Yeah.
That they actually had the editor do it.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's like, I can't deal with this blood and gore. But it's because I'm fascinated by that. Like, how did you end up doing this? I mean, granted, for a movie about a guy who gets drawn into doing something he doesn't want to do so bad that it makes him kill people.
There you go.
It's kind of interesting that the director is like, I don't like blood and gore.
Yeah. So why?
So it did this. It did the same thing. So dragging him into that, he got super pious.
There you go.
Instead of like super murdery, he
went the other way.
Yeah, he went too far the other way.
I'm pretty fascinated by the idea of someone just being like, yeah, I can't wait to make this slasher movie for y'all, but I don't want to do the kill scenes.
Okay. Love the idea. Think it's great. So his family's murdered, right? And then he's beaten a whole lot by nuns, and then he's forced upon and he breaks, and then delivers presents to all the good boys and girls. Yeah. What if we did that? He actually becomes Santa.
Yeah.
And they're like, no,
just stick to the
Charles,
script.
Sorry.
Yeah.
He's going to stab Leanna Quigley.
But he did have a hard time getting work after this film just because of the controversy about it. But by work as a film director, he became a very successful TV producer afterwards.
Well, I'm assuming, again, with your fanboydom of these two, that you saw the Gene Siskel clip.
Oh, yes.
So let me repeat the names of the writer and director and producers of this film. Michael Hickey wrote the film, Charles E. Sellier Jr. directed it, and Ira Richard Barmack produced it. You people have nothing to be proud of, even if you made a few bucks off of all the negative publicity. Your profits truly are blood money. And Silent Night, Deadly Night now has the distinction of joining I Spit on Your Grave as one of the two most contemptible films I've seen. And I don't mean to think it's campy. It really is quite awful.
Good God, that guy. Again, he's just doing this like naming and shaming thing. Yeah. And it's just ridiculous. Just calm down. Like, there are so many worse movies had come out by this point. Granted, a lot of those were more East Coast Times Square, that kind of thing.
Stuff,
but there wasn't in the far reaching, and slashers had been around. So this wasn't entirely like new ground. I can understand being upset at the ad campaign about it. Not to the point that I would go stomp around outside of a theater, but if you're like, oh my God, my kid's scared of Santa now, thanks so much. But to claim that like you're just blood money,
right?
And whatever, Gene.
It was a slasher film that broke through past the Times Square audience, and into the mainstream. So it makes me kind of think of like, what would Gene Siskel think of Terrifier 2?
Oh gosh, yeah.
I have not seen this film yet. I'm mildly interested in it, but just watching him get apoplectic about Art the Clown, which would be kind of funny, actually, I think.
Yeah, I would have to imagine if he was around, he would be like beaten down by this point, because it's true. It's the thing he's complained about. It's like, yeah, that's popular culture now, man. Sorry.
Right. So jumping into this, we open on a Christmas Eve in 1971, and a kid is riding in the back of a car with his parents, and they're all listening to Christmas carols, and they drive up to the Utah mental facility to see the dad's father, who's just sort of like sitting there staring alone in the distance, and it's rather creepy, I think.
Yeah. Well, but before we get too far into that, I want to say that I think it's great that they got Throbbing Gristle to do the score for this movie. The soundtrack is so, when it's not, well, we'll talk about the Christmas music in a second, but like the main themes of this movie are so like discordant and upsetting. Wow, I did not remember that from watching this before. Because I'd seen this, years and years ago.
Me too, yeah.
But it was just Oh, it hurt.
Right.
it was effective. It did what it needed to do. But the other thing I want to talk about with the music in this is that so much of the music in this is not Christmas music you have ever heard before.
Certainly.
I don't know if this is all like originals that were written for this, but it just goes to show like why there aren't a lot of good Christmas songs beyond the standards that we have.
Yes.
Because a lot of them are bad.
Right.
And so you should appreciate what Mariah Carey did by being able to break through,
bring something new to the
this
table.
torrent of awful stuff and brought something new. And now that's in the regular rotation.
That's true.
You know?
I mean, when I was putting up my Christmas tree a couple days ago, I go right for the Rat Pack Christmas. That's more my speed. Anything beyond 1967, probably don't like it.
Yeah, just throw on some Ray Conniff. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
Mannheim Steamroller.
Yeah.
That's a good one
Or
too.
Muppets Christmas Carol, or Muppets Sing the Christmas.
But it's just like all these songs. You're like, who? What? What Christmas song is this? And I'm mad about it because I don't. Like that's not a Christmas song.
Totally. The mental facility for the grandfather is suitably depressing, but also decked out in like a little bit of Christmas decor, which I thought was funny.
Oh, yeah.
But he's sitting in there all alone by himself. You know, knowing that this movie also deals with a killer Santa, which is like a childhood trauma type of deal. But also, I don't know if I had it in my kind of circle growing up as a kid necessarily, but it's a somewhat common theme for like little kids to be a little bit of afraid of like one of their older relatives at some point. When they're younger, like there might be like a weird old uncle or something like that. And so I do like doubling up on the childhood trauma on this one.
Oh yeah. Well, and what's funny is so they go to visit this what's supposed to be his grandpa, who is in a mental institution and is apparently catatonic.
Yes.
He's just sitting there staring out into space alone in a room. The doctor takes the family away. He's like, oh, I've got his paperwork, whatever. So they go in the other room after they're trying to talk to him and he's not responding. And he snaps to life and starts freaking out this kid with horrible stories about Santa. And it made me laugh because a friend of mine told me a story about his grandpa. When they would go to visit his grandparents, his grandpa would then put his hearing aid in. That when they weren't there, he's like, I'm not listening to what she has to say.
That is fantastic.
Throwing away. And so this guy, so my immediate thought is that this guy hates his wiener kids so much that he's like, oh, no, their family's coming. I'm catatonic. Boo. And it's like, oh, they're all gone. Okay, now I can finally be myself.
Or they left the little brat kid with me, so I'm just going to mess with him for a little while.
Or just that he's that far gone that when he's telling him all this scary stuff about Santa, he's like, "Oh no, I'm handling this in a jovial way." But he's so insane that he's like, "Santa's gonna kill you, kid."
Christmas Eve is the scariest damn night of the year. I'd be scared too if I was you. You know what happens Christmas Eve, don't you? You know all about Santa Claus.
This is the beginning of the concept of this movie that I like, but I wish they would have gone a little bit deeper with, which is, it's not just that Santa gives toys to the good little boys and girls. He punishes the bad ones.
He punishes.
And you have to be good every single day or you will get punished. And so that's what he inscribes on the kid while the parents are gone.
Yeah, and that actor, Will Harris, like he sells it really good because it's not just like malevolent. Like he looks like he's on the verge of tears. Yes. Like he himself has been through some shit with Santa. Right. And no, I don't need a 6-part, the Silent Night, Deadly Night origins about Grandpa. I did like how much he sold that. I thought that was great.
When the family returns, Grandpa goes right back into his trance. And on the drive home, Billy, the young boy, tells his parents like exactly what Grandpa told him. So we cut to like I don't know what you would call him, like a Rent-A-Santa or a mall Santa outside of the mall, just like any old goof dressed up as Santa Claus, holding up a gas station with a gun. And when the attendant tries to pull on Santa, Santa just shoots him.
Yeah.
Murders the man, walks out with $31, which was a pretty great button on the scene, I think.
Yeah, and is pissed about only getting that much for wasting a guy.
I know it's a B movie. I know we don't have to go into like motivations or whatever, but was, why is the guy dressed like Santa? Why did he resort right to like murdering a gas station attendant? I don't know. He just did.
He's chaos Santa. There's a whole subplot about mall Santa's trying to unionize and he got shut down. And
they
so
want health care. Yeah.
And now he's despondent. And no, he is just like, he's a Batman villain.
Yeah.
And he's just like, I'm evil.
Yes. Yeah.
To be evil.
He takes it up a notch in the next scene when Billy's family pulls up to try to help him. It wasn't completely clear if his car actually was broken down, correct? He's not just doing it as a ruse, Don't
know. Like, it's because I don't know if it was like, oh, this is they might be looking for a Santa driving this car. I got to switch cars.
Right.
Or if he's just, because he's Chaos Santa, I'm going to take this car now. I'm just going to shoot whoever.
Yeah.
But maybe he did actually, I don't know. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
The outcome is all that matters.
So
the ends justify the means in this case.
Yes. The family pulls up on that Santa in his broken down car. I really like the kid's acting here. The kid who plays Billy the Kid, if you will. But he,
I will.
Yes, he's great. He looks legitimately terrified. Good little performance out of this kid. And for no real reason, Santa shoots the parents, or shoots the father, proceeds to pull the mother out of the car, tears open her shirt, and then slashes her throat. Yeah. Again, why?
All
don't
in
know.
Plain view of Billy. Yeah, Billy runs and hides. His brother is on the car, and I gotta say, that is an ugly baby. When they cut to shots of him on the way up, and it's just like his kind of tongue sticking out, it's like that is. If you refer to children as crotch fruit, then this is your movie.
Yes.
Because you're going to look at that like, yeah, no, I made the right call. They just hate all children.
Like the Seinfeld episode, the ugly baby.
Yeah, the baby's left the car. Billy runs and hides, but the Santa looks for him for a little bit, and then it's like, well, I got more chaos to do, and then leaves.
I'm all full up on murdering right now.
It's my cheat day for murders.
Totally. And this kind of starts. I was thinking about this later as compared with, say, like Jason Voorhees. This is the most time that we're like spending with our slasher. Spoiler, Billy grows up to become a slasher Santa. Mm-hmm. But like we spend a solid 30 minutes with him and you can kind of understand where he's coming from. Not saying that I justify like murdering people later, but like you're getting his entire trauma like leading up to that.
That's the whole point of this. And like it is more of a... Although it's not great in this regard, like it is more of a fleshed out character study than, from what we've done so far, like Jason, the tall man, the concept of death, they're all ciphers. Mm-hmm. They're all like, we don't really know too much about him, but this is all about like, here's how a guy can become a murderous Santa.
Yeah.
It reminded me a little bit, and probably just sort of how scuzzy it is. I messaged you being like, well, this is kind of like the Joker movie.
Yes.
Which really means that it's a like Maniac, William Lustig's Maniac.
Right.
In several respects. Where it's like, yeah, you're spending a lot of time with this guy and not really getting into his head because it's not that complicated. But you do experience like his, not rise, but certainly the fall, his mild success at getting a job and then horrible fall.
Right.
But yeah, so it's a bit more of a personal story than your Voorhees's.
Than your Voorhees or your Michael Myers or whatever. Yeah.
Another great example.
3 years later, Billy's in an orphanage run by nuns. And we're opening on a scene of the classic case of like, ew, gross. What did the kid draw? And like, why is he so messed up type of thing. It's a decapitated reindeer, I believe, right?
Yeah, because all the kids are hanging up their Christmas drawings there. And I'm like, oh, Billy, you need to hang up yours. And oh my God, take that down. And when he shows it to the stern Mother Superior, the other nun is like,
you finally have what you've been asking for, Mother Superior. Proof. Of what? Just a moment.
What I've been saying, that it's all still inside him. All that terrible violence he saw.
Yeah, or he's 8.
Yeah.
All 8-year-olds draw shit like that.
I mean, I drew all kinds of
I'm not saying that like
things.
there's not stuff behind it, but yeah, like I drew, semis covered in spikes driving into stick figures and like, whatever.
Wait, are you an evil Santa now?
No. Easter's more my jam.
Yeah.
It puts the eggs in a basket.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, it is, an upsetting drawing. It's a troubled child compared to what everyone else.
Sure.
Which, by the way, great 80s hair on a lot of these kids.
Totally.
Did you ever have a mullet when you were a kid?
I did not. I remember kind of wanting one, but I thought it was the soccer player haircut for some reason. And I was just like, oh man, the guys who play soccer are kind of cool and they've got a cool haircut. And, I'm 9 and I wanted one, but I was not allowed to have a mullet. And I'm kind of glad about that looking back.
Yeah, I don't think I got too long. I did the spiky hair thing, and I wanted a buzz cut real bad because my neighbors had buzz cuts. And my mom was like, this is what you look like, and held me in front of a mirror. And I was like, well, maybe maybe I'll get one in college if I'm not popular. And I wasn't, but I still didn't get a buzz cut. So I lied to my mother. Oh, what a breakthrough. Anyway, yeah, just some great 80s hair on these kids. I just want to throw that out there because I noticed that and I was very excited.
Certainly.
I had hair nostalgia.
Totally. Yeah. Billy is encouraged just to simply go outside, which I think is funny. It's just like, no, go outside and play with the other kids, I guess. And maybe it's they're trying to get him to like socialize with the other children. But on his way out, he spies on two people having sex, and the Mother Superior finds them and catches Billy watching them. The Mother Superior bolts into the room and starts whipping the couple with a belt, which I don't know, like lends itself to a little bit of kink talk, I believe, right there. I mean, especially it being a nun, and this is a no judgment thing, but I was like, whoa, I wonder if that's something that the director brought to the table, considering he was an evangelical or something like that.
He does spy on, it's like the help. It's like a maid and a janitor or something sees them having sex, and he goes outside. The Mother Superior comes down and is like,
what did you see upstairs, William?
Nothing, Mother Superior.
Do you know what they were doing?
No, Mother Superior.
Good. What they were doing was something very, very naughty. They thought they could do it without being caught. But when we do something naughty, we are always caught.
But then he starts having like flashbacks.
Yep.
And they bring up that like this happens every Christmas. He starts going nuts every Christmas, but they never like go like, well, we should do something about that.
Yes.
They just go, well, no, that's wrong. We need to correct him. At one point, she says something about how
he must be taught.
But the memory is still there, Mother Superior, waiting to come out.
And if it does, and if he has received proper training, he will know how to cope with it.
With the proper training,
yes,
he can deal with it. Which I guess if you're Catholic, that is just buried under booze and guilt. And she whips him with a belt because he was out of his room.
Yep.
He shouldn't have been. Time to bed because he was like
having night terrors or something.
Yeah, having night terrors, and so it's just nothing but cruelty.
Yeah,
that this child has experienced thus far.
And she even says stuff like, punishment is good. Punishment is important. We're starting to tread into some Pinhead territory there a little bit. Yeah.
Which, I mean, that again is informing his whole like naughty versus nice. Like you got to be punished for sex is bad.
Yep.
Sins are in general are bad. It expands his worldview of what is naughty.
Yeah.
But it also imparts an important lesson that Mother Superior, the head of the nuns, beats people with a belt. So when she encounters sin, she can beat people. Only Santa has a license to kill.
Ah, okay.
Because Santa's done the murder so far.
Yes.
Mother Superior is just the strong arm, but when it comes down to lay down the law, you gotta
go with Santa.
Yeah.
Gosh, what's their HR department like? I mean, keeping these two in line, not crossing over, making sure the nun doesn't cross over to killing.
Well, Santa knows if she's been sleeping, knows if she's awake.
Right. Mother Superior's methods are to make Billy sit on Santa Claus's lap and behave. So I think this is the proper training.
Yeah. Well, it's weird because it is Christmas and all the other kids are enjoying their toys. And she says, I see nothing but greed where there should be gratitude. Then you're bad at your job. You're a nun. You're the one letting them just do this. And why? She's very obsessed with Billy appreciating Santa.
Yes.
Shouldn't you be concerned about Jesus? Isn't that kind of your whole thing? Yeah. No, Santa. I mean, I know he was a saint, but just, but they, rather than, it's all just their tough love thing.
Right.
About like, no, he's just going to sit on Santa's lap and that will be good for him. Rather than figure out what's wrong. And it does not go well.
No. Billy just straight up cold cocks Santa. And it was pretty funny.
Yes, it was.
Pretty funny. That's a great way to make a 10-year time jump. So we're in 1984 now. We've got, I would suppose, 18-year-old Billy?
Yeah.
In 1984, yeah. A nun is trying to get Billy a job at a toy store. Like, what could possibly go wrong here? Like, what of all the places? Couldn't be like a line cook, couldn't, have another 18-year-old job. But I do really love this montage, though, because it's a montage of 18-year-old Billy now being an exemplary employee, just like doing everything perfect. somebody offers him a shot of whiskey and he says no and takes a big drink of milk, which I thought was cute.
which is amazing because he gets this job at the toy store because the nun is like, oh, I've got this boy, and the guy's like, well, Mr. Sims, the owner of the toy store, is like, this is a man's job. I don't need a boy doing this. Like, oh, well, let me bring him out. And like it pans up, like, look at how hot Billy is now.
Yeah.
And Mr. Sims is like he's in the Hot for Teacher video or something like that. It's like, oh my, yes, please.
Yes. We'll take one Billy, please.
But yeah, we get this, and the soundtrack again is awful. The song on the warm side of the door, the other side of the door.
Yeah.
I like how you can hear the singer like put the stank on it.
On the warm side of the door.
Exactly.
But it ends, and so it's like you see him being this exemplary employee and being nice to kids and being helpful, and everyone loving him. And then as the montage is progressing, Christmas starts approaching. They're putting up signs, and all of a sudden, he's getting yelled at by his immediate supervisor because I guess he's been a bad employee. I was like, well, you had a whole montage to show us that.
Yeah. I didn't get where the change happened right there. I mean, the main thing that I was noticing was that his outfit looked like Luke Skywalker's bathrobe in A New Hope.
Yeah, he's got to wear the Skywalker tunic. Yeah.
Yeah. And there was also in the background of the toy store, I was definitely eagle-eyeing all the toys. And they did have the big Return of the Jedi Jabba the Hutt play set that I had when I was a kid, too. So that made me kind of happy.
Yeah, I was kind of looking out for that stupid stuff as well.
The funniest one, though, there was a Krull board game in the background.
Oh my God, I missed that.
There was a Krull board game. That implies that that's real.
Yeah, if you have not seen the movie Krull, good. Keep it that way.
I like it.
It's goofy as hell.
So yeah, we fade into Billy laying with one of the women at the store, and he wakes up to a nightmare of a Santa encroaching and slicing him right along the torso.
Yeah.
To which he starts sitting in the corner afterwards, reciting what he did as a kid.
I'm being good.
Let's be naughty. I'm sorry.
Don't punish me.
Don't punish me. Please.
Yeah, because he has a crush on one of his coworkers.
Yeah.
And he gets horny for the first time in his life. In the midst of that, is attacked by Santa. I mean, he's immediately like, so he's got some peccadillos, sexual stuff, that hang-ups. And yeah, things are not going well for him at work, as we mentioned. Like he apparently has been slacking off, and he's immediately yelled at by a supervisor who says that he's snapping at him all the time. He's not getting his job done. He's
staring off into space like some moon goon.
Yeah, I loved that. A moon goon.
A moon goon. It's a great insult I plan to use a lot.
Yeah.
So it's not going well, and he's struggling with Christmas, but he's unable to say anything about this to anybody.
Yeah.
And be like, nah, I don't really like Christmas, or hey, my family was murdered by Christmas, or by Christmas, by Santa.
Even though like a Final Destination type of thing where it's just like
Christmas coming. There's no way to stop it. How do we stop
it?
Yes. Where the Grinch is actually the good guy.
You're right. Yeah. The advent calendar is just doom and gloom the entire way.
Devin Sawa is the Grinch. So he can't say anything about this for whatever reason. He's unable to. It's so far down, he doesn't even want to address it. Again, that Catholic proper training.
Yeah.
But it comes to be Christmas, and oh, wouldn't you know it, their Santa is out. The guy, the employee that was going to be the Santa, hurt himself in an ice skating accident. All the temp agency workers are all women, apparently.
Yep. Yeah.
As we learned. And so that's not possible. So Mr. Sims asks, well, he doesn't ask Billy to do it. He just makes him do it.
Yeah. We cut to Mr. Sims just dressing up Billy in the Santa outfit, which of course, there's only one way this is going to go.
Yeah.
It did occur to me too, when you were just talking there, like, we don't see where Billy lives. We don't see what does he live on his own?
Yeah.
I don't think he lives at the orphanage anymore. Like, basically all the action takes place in the store.
Mm-hmm. Other than that one shot
section
of his bedroom. Yeah. And it's not real clear where that is.
Right.
But, yeah.
I think I weirdly assume, like, is that in the back of the store or something? Because that seems to be going on a lot. Like, people just finding places to hook up in public, you know?
Well, that's such a noir thing, too, of the, like...
Oh, sure.
Oh, I'm just a drifter in town. Well, we got a bed above the shop.
Yeah, there you go. There you go, yeah. Or a Roadhouse thing.
Or a Roadhouse, yes. Except pain do hurt here.
Which also had the Santa Claus-looking guy who rents it to him.
That's right.
So now he's Santa in the chair and he's struggling with one of the kids. And it's pretty funny. He just full on tells this little girl,
I don't bring toys to naughty children. I punish them.
And scares the girl so bad that the parents think that she's actually calmed down. And they like look at him with like, oh, good work, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which I love because it's all this whispered menace. It's a POV. You're being threatened by Santa ASMR. And it's great because he's starting to lose it. He's like, I'm trying to hold it together, trying to be an adult, doing the Catholic thing, pushing it all down.
Yeah.
But it's coming up in us. So I will just yell at a child about it very quietly.
Might as well.
Yeah.
Later in the evening, Mr. Sims locks up the front door and says,
7 o'clock. It's over. Time to get shit-faced.
There's so many good lines in this.
And this movie does not like Christmas. It is very much like it is made for people that do not like Christmas.
It's true. Yeah.
But I also think that might tie into the music thing where it's like, no, the spirit of Christmas, the Christmas as we think about it is all these classic tunes. But the reality of Christmas is confusing and bad. And that's what these songs are. Because that's not the Christmas music. You shouldn't be feeling what you're feeling right now. It's Christmas. No, but it's the reality of Christmas.
Yeah, this toy shop owner who you would think would just be like, hey, this is going to be my best quarter. This is going to see me through like the next 2 quarters, really, if we get good sales here. No, he hates it and can't wait to be done with it. Yeah, there's one of those like kind of awkward store staff parties. And they pass around like paper cups full of booze and stuff. And he does have another great line.
Stick with me, kids. By the time this party's over, you'll think you are Santa Claus.
He's not wrong.
No.
But he also, he gives him some J&B scotch. Again, we have another movie where it's like, this kid has never drank before, but he's like, scotch, huh? No one likes scotch.
Just had some scotch last night at at a bar that like prided itself on like great cocktails. And I was like, yeah, it still kind of tastes like Band-Aids.
Yeah, I love scotch, but it's just like when you're 22 or 18, you're like, yeah. So it's this. The scotch is also to blame for his transformation.
There you go. I do love and Billy. I start referring to him as Billy Santa because he's basically in a Santa outfit the rest of the time. And he talks to Sims and he does say fucking party is dead anyway. And it just made me think of Swingers. I was like, did Jon Favreau like love Silent Night, Deadly Night?
It was a whole subplot they got rid of.
Yeah. Do people talk about Swingers anymore? Like I remember when that was like a thing and well respected and everything, but I haven't watched it in years. But.
I only watched it once, and I just remember that someone I knew had seen it way before I did and started saying money all the time, and I got really annoyed by that. Yeah. And so the movie, I'm like, I hate this. So I don't remember.
I went through a phase of liking that movie mainly because it was such like a low budget. Like, we're just going to try to do something.
It could be great. I just have, I just watched it at a bad time. Don't know.
Yeah. I think for me, it was I saw it in my early 20s, which is when I needed to see that movie.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
I don't know if I would relate to it now at all. Yeah. You know, what are those guys going to go do? Like, rule Star Wars, basically. Billy starts to really crack here. Essentially, and he starts walking around in a daze, and he's still in his Santa uniform, doesn't take it off for the rest of the film. In the back room, he sees 2 of his fellow employees, and the guy is basically just sexually assaulting his female coworker in the back room, and this causes Billy to start flashing back to his mother getting assaulted by the Santa Claus. He disrupts the crime. Okay, that's not right.
No, I mean that's what's happening because his supervisor is basically trying to lure the coworker he has a crush on, Pamela, into the back room with a mistletoe. Because I guess that operates like catnip, where she can't even think straight. It's like, oh well, I guess I'll follow you.
Of course,
they go into the back room where he apparently has a surprise for her. A gift, and that gift is sexual assault because she says no and he starts forcing himself on her. Billy has already kind of started to crack because he likes her and she's rejecting him to go sin. Well, that's bad because you've already seen them making out. But then when he sees that she's being attacked, oof, that does it.
Yeah, that breaks him.
That egg cracks.
We get our first Billy kill in the movie where he hangs the guy with a string of flashing Christmas lights, which is a pretty perfect way to go.
Yeah, he gets filled with the Christmas spirit or Santa powers or something because he lifts him up.
Yes.
He's kind of like Batman in this way, in that he punishes villains and he takes a crime and makes it all about himself. This one was being assaulted and he was like, yes, but what does this mean to me?
Yeah. How can I personalize this?
And that's it. He starts, murders him. Pamela is like, oh my God, I can't believe you murdered that guy. Oh, questioning Santa? That is naughty.
Yes.
So he takes her out as well.
So Mr. Sims is drunk and he tries to go looking for everyone. And then Billy kind of just appears out of nowhere and smashes him with a hammer. So the point that I was just trying to think about is I was thinking about this movie, like, you know, halfway through it. And I was like, I know it's a B movie. So just like be careful about how much you kind of analyze motivations and stuff like that. But from the beginning, the entire theme is people who are naughty get killed. Pain and suffering is a good thing. What did Mr. Sims do? What did Pamela do?
Right.
You know, like, obviously the first guy was naughty. I kind of wish this movie would have like stuck a little bit more to, dare I say, Dexter rules, where he only kills people who are really naughty instead of just like running around.
Right.
I mean, I guess you can find things that people are naughty about, but like just explicitly naughty.
In particularly with the some of the later kills that are just like, hey, here's some new characters that he's going to kill.
Right.
It's not entirely clear, but yeah, I agree in that since this largely seems to be about this guy and his breaking.
Yeah.
And it's Christmas related, either lean into it more and have it be, you know, he sees everything. It's like the evil robot Santa on Futurama, where, you know, everything is naughty.
Sure.
Or he's just cracked and it doesn't matter.
Sure.
And it seems like they kind of want to go that way, but he's still screaming about punish and naughty. But yeah, it's unclear. Like if there was some altercation with him and Mr. Sims. I mean, there's a moment a little bit before I mentioned where Mr. Sims is drunk and is talking to him, where he kind of like forgets that Santa murdered his family. But he's still like nice. But, you know, he's like, oh, shit, I'm sorry. Hey.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. But I mean, I'm not a homicidal maniac anymore. But I don't know. Yeah, he just decides to kill him and Mrs. Randall.
Again, like, I don't know if you can ascribe that much thought to slasher film writing, but I kind of thought that they would, just because they set up that theme early on, they might have stuck
some sort of narrative cohesion. Yeah.
Right. There you go. Billy starts stalking the store with an axe. Just walking around, Jack from Shining style, chasing after Mrs. Randall. She gets away by hiding behind some boxes, and then she tries to like axe her way out of the store when Billy draws and loosens an arrow on her and shoots her in the back because toy stores are stocked with lethal bow and arrows.
Well, back in the 80s, you know, before
there you go.
Obama took them away.
Parents.
Yeah. Throws a lawn dart at her skull. Which I also like that she's like, oh, I'm going to break this window with the axe. Oh, I shouldn't. Which is just also just makes it seem like the directors were like,
polite.
Look, do not mess this up. We cannot afford to pay this.
That's totally what it was. That's funny as hell. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, so she tries to axe her way out of the front display window. And she stops and thinks that she shouldn't. And I'm sure that was like a producer just saying, like, we don't have the money to replay.
Yeah. We don't even joke about that. We spent so much money on this awful Christmas music. We don't have time. Yeah.
Right.
But he puts her down with an arrow. And like, honestly, with the exception of the two upcoming murders, a lot of the kills in this aren't that grisly. They're pretty quick. Or like, I don't even think you really see the Mr. Sims death that much, do you? I feel like you just see the aftermath of him with the hammer in his head. So they're not as grisly as say, because at this point we have gotten to the fourth Jason movie.
Oh,
there have been a bunch, you know,
yes.
yeah. And so already slashers are all over the place of varying goriness or whatever. And so a lot of the kills here are fairly tame by comparison.
And it is worth pointing out, I don't know which version you watched, but there was this huge controversy at the time where they did take out a lot of the kills. Now, it may not look as bad like by today's standards or something, obviously. But there was I believe it was like Scream Factory or somebody like put out a new Blu-ray and they added back in some of the grislier stuff. The footage was so beyond repair that it's a very noticeable change in the footage. Yeah. So, yeah. But again, it still is not that bad. It's
not that bad. And frankly, I kind of like how shitty it looks.
Yeah, completely.
Like how bad some of the footage looks. It adds to it. But yeah, comparatively, it's like we talked about at length, and we'll probably continue throughout the Jason series about the changing whims of the MPAA and what was appropriate and what wasn't.
Yeah,
and I think this was definitely in a like downswing of like we gotta tamp down on this.
Right.
I mean, obviously with the protests and everything that was going on before and, around the release of this is whatever. And TriStar very much concerned about the killer Santa Claus theme, which is funny because the next year they released that Santa Claus movie with Dudley Moore and John Lithgow. And
yes.
Yeah. So I think they're playing both sides of the Santa coin.
Exactly. Yeah.
But yeah. So I think it was just really hedging their bets on some of this stuff.
We're finally going to get outside the store for the first time in a while. So we cut to a very like kind of Friday the 13th moment, really, where a teen guy is making time with his lady on the pool table. Mm-hmm. And we must stop and worship at the altar of Leanna Quigley here.
Yes.
So this is one of her most famous films. I think the only one be more famous is Return of the Living Dead. She plays Trash in that, and a very like famous like punk rock zombie movie. But she's been in so many B horror films.
Yeah, Night of the Demons is up there as well. That was a big
Witchboard.
Yeah, oh yeah, great scream queen.
Sorority Babes and the Slimeball Bolorama.
Oh, I've never seen that one.
My dad always used to point that one out in the TV guide when I was growing up, and we never watched it. He just thought the name was funny. He's just like, "Hey, look, they're playing it again." Yeah. And I don't think I've ever watched it actually, so I think I need to watch it.
Yeah, that could be a fun thing. We'll have to check that out.
Mm-hmm. When you think of Silent Night, Deadly Night, there's a good chance that you think of this scene.
Absolutely.
And this is one of those scenes where, like I wrote in my notes, again, as a horror fan, I always wonder about my quotes being taken out of context when talking about horror movie scenes, because this scene is incredible and it's terrible. Leanna goes upstairs looking for a cat, and she's just like totally just running around the whole cabin topless, basically. Opening the door, calling for the cat, still topless. Billy axes his way through the door and just immediately throws an axe at her, which does not hit her.
Yeah, apparently, and the shot is her up against the wall, and the axe hits right there.
Yes,
and apparently that was a very real axe.
Axe.
My guess is that someone was off camera just swinging it, not throwing it at her.
Good
but
God,
still. Scary stuff.
What you do for the B movies.
Yeah.
He basically chases her around the living room of this house, and there is is there a proper name for this? Like deer antlers? Well,
it's a mounted head. It's
mounted
like a deer head on
there
the wall.
We go. Yeah, there's a mounted deer head on the wall. And he grabs her still topless and just shoves her onto one of the pairs of antlers and just like hangs her on the wall. I hate to say it, but it's really well done. And the shot is beautiful, actually, at the end of it.
Yeah, it's really creepy. And they cut, because it seemed like it was one of the more grainier, like found footage kind of things of him like walking away and her hung
staying there. Yeah.
And it is creepy as hell.
That's one of those, like, if you're not going to bother watching this whole film and you just want to listen to us talk about it, look up that scene on YouTube, and does it get the James Strayer endorsement for a good scene? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
right
a great
up there
shot.
With the end of Citizen Kane. Yeah. It's good stuff.
Right.
But like her boyfriend sucks.
Absolutely.
So I'm kind of glad he gets off, because he's trying to make his move, and she's like, because she's babysitting for a little girl, and the little girl has to come downstairs, and she chases her away, and then like, I gotta go. The cat needs in, and he's like, when she leaves, like, I'm gonna kill her.
Yeah.
And then later, because he's downstairs playing pool while this is all going on, I guess the music's too loud, and you can't hear her screams or something like that. Because then when he goes upstairs looking for her again, he's like, I'm gonna kill her.
Yeah.
It's like, this guy sucks. You dodged a bullet by getting murdered.
Totally. And doesn't he say something like, she tells him like, something about Santa won't come, and he goes, he's not the only one or something like that. Good grief.
But this jabroni, Tommy attacks him.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Billy attacks him. And I like that, again, coming from the stuff we watched previously, is that it reminds you that Billy's just a guy.
Yeah.
A lot of slashers are just people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it is like
usually men.
Another human being can get the best of them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have a scuffle, and he gets the upper hand for a little bit, calls the cops, but then Billy gets him, throws him out of a window.
Very Jason style.
Yeah, and a lot of shards of glass stabbed in him. It occurred to me this time watching it that, like, why was he even there? Like, because he's, as you learn, Billy is making a trek to the orphanage.
Yes.
He's going back to the orphanage.
It's not completely
His brother
clear.
is still there, incidentally, but not, but it seems like he's there perhaps on a mission of vengeance against the Mother Superior that treated him so badly. Not really said out loud.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he just like stopped and I guess maybe saw Leanna Quigley like nude, dealing with the guy. I was like, well, clearly naughtiness is happening there.
Yeah.
I gotta go deal with it.
Yeah.
But this in the sledding, if he had just not done that, he could have got his mission accomplished.
Exactly. Yeah. So I guess this does follow the slasher trope of sex is naughty, so Santa will kill you.
Yeah. I mean, that's been literally beaten into him.
Right.
So.
Yes. Oh, at this point, there's a little boy or like a little kid and very excited to see Santa. But then Billy just kind of like has sympathy for the kid and walks over and gives the kid a bloody box cutter, which is kind of fun.
Yeah, she's like, have you been good?
Yeah.
She's like, yeah. It's like, really? It's like, yeah, not naughty at all. Yeah, he gives her a box cutter. And then that little girl went on to do 9/11.
There. How many years later would that be?
Less than 20, because it was like more like 15.
Yeah. So possible.
She became a Wahhabist.
Right.
Actually, this is a kind of a Wahhabist, folktale about a guy like. But actually, Santa was right to do this.
Yes. Cops are told they need to bring in Santa, and they drive up to a house to see another guy just like crawling in through his daughter's window. This is a little confusing because, of course, naturally, I thought this is Billy at first. Mm-hmm. But it turns out the cops like raid a house, draw their guns on like a father, like, sneaking in to like try to surprise his daughter dressed as Santa Claus.
But it's not Santa. It's just a guy. And when he pulls on his beard, I thought, and I'm still not convinced it's not, but when he pulls on the beard, he looks like Billy's dad from the first scene.
Oh, funny.
And I was like, is this just how dads look in this town? If you become a dad, do you just get this, like, it's the Innsmouth look?
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Become a dad. But so, oh gosh, well, this is going to be tough to catch this guy because there are Santas everywhere.
Right.
Then we get on to one of my favorite scenes. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't help, and as much as I keep coming back to this movie to yell about it, I couldn't help think of Friday the 13th, Part 5. Because we're introduced to the scene of two dudes on a hill with sleds, and they're yelling at each other.
Yeah.
But they're not awful about it. It has more of a Ted Crispin Glover vibe than the two awful dudes from Part 5.
Yep.
Where they're just teens and like, oh, they're giving each other shit or whatever. And then they're accosted by two other teens, even though they look like they're in their 30s. Mm-hmm. But it is the 80s. And they get bullied by them, and the bullies are like, aha, we're going to steal your sleds and go sledding.
Yeah.
And one of them goes down, oh, it's fun. The other one is going down, and out pops Billy, chops his head off clean with an axe.
Yep.
I should back up, and before that, though, say that the worst bully was like, I'm going to go faster than you down the hill.
Yeah.
And that ended up being true because the loss of the head made him way more aerodynamic.
Faster.
And the body slumps over.
Yep.
So he's reduced his wind resistance.
He was correct.
So Santa doing work of good.
Yeah.
And it's a dumb bit. It takes too long to set up, but I love it. It's so funny.
And some of the dialogue was just so funny and stupid and,
Well, maybe it was just my imagination.
Yeah, it would be if you had one. Now ride your stupid sled.
My sled ain't stupid. I'll show you. Watch.
John, let's go sledding and just like yell at each
other. As long
other.
as your sled isn't stupid.
Yeah.
let's just go hang out and yell at each other. That'd be a good time. But it's also like, did he watch that whole exchange and figure out that someone was naughty, or was it just a great opportunity for him to be like,
those two kids were dumb, but they weren't, are they decapitated dumb? I don't think so. Yeah.
When you're Santa, apparently so.
Oh, so we cut to cops finding a nun in the police station, and I just wrote, I hope the nun takes his badge and gun, because that would get
turn in your badge and nun.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, because Sister Margaret, who's the one that introduced Billy to the store owner, went like, oh God, it's Christmas. I should probably go check on Billy. Mm-hmm. And saw the dead bodies.
Yes.
And so she went to the cops, and she's awoken at the police station.
Billy arrives back at his orphanage. He's finally there, dressed up as Santa still. Cops in hot pursuit. The cops start like circling the place and shoots what we think is Billy in the back in front of all the children, which is pretty funny. Mm-hmm. Turns out it wasn't Billy after all. These cops shot a priest in the back.
Yeah.
Which was like, wow, they did that.
And the reaction is, oh, shucks.
Yeah.
You know, Mondays. Am I right? Right. Like he gets like when they figure out that no, because the chief detective or whatever is heading to the orphanage with Sister Margaret. Sister Margaret has figured out that's probably where he's headed.
Yeah.
And they get the call that, this guy has put down a Santa, and he's like a 60-year-old man. She's like, that's not Billy.
Yeah.
And he gets, oh boy, he gets a talking to. But then the cop like is still like on the job. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's a very much a movie that still has meaning.
Still
even
has
today.
some meaning right now. Yeah.
It still resonates currently.
Yeah.
Because it is just like, ugh, blah.
Right.
You ever shoot a priest?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we've all been there.
Yeah.
In the back.
In the back. Done it twice. Yeah.
In my defense, hadn't had my coffee yet.
Right. The nun superior is leading some kids in some Christmas carols, and I just call this guy Cop Mustache, is stalking around outside with his gun drawn. He goes down some creepy stairs. Then he just walks back upstairs, and he gets axed in the stomach, kind of like Scatman Crothers in The Shining.
Oh, yeah.
Just like full on the baseball swing with the axe. By Billy this time.
Billy correctly, like that cop was naughty. He did.
That's true. He did shoot someone in the back.
Not just a priest, a deaf priest.
Yes.
Because she mentions that, like, well, he called and he didn't say, he wouldn't stop. Yeah, he's deaf.
Yeah.
Why would he stop? Yeah. So he killed a disabled elderly man.
Shot in the back.
Rats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. This next bit I think is fantastic. A little boy lets Billy in, and he's carrying an axe behind him. And all the kids are just like, come on in, Santa. Like, they want Santa Claus to come in. And it's just like the way it's shot, goes back and forth from what the kids are seeing to behind Billy's back, where you see the axe behind his back. And it's so good.
Dripping with blood.
Yeah. Because he had just like decapitated a snowman too on his way in there. Uh-huh. Yeah. Which is just like kind of like a little fuck you to like everybody, it seems. Billy lifts his axe to swing at the Mother Superior, who is now in a wheelchair, and he gets shot in the back, down by the cops.
But I love that Mother Superior is like, she just closes her eyes. She's like, I'm fine with how I've lived my life.
Yeah,
like,
right.
Even in death, she's like, whatever. I know I'm right.
Yeah. His dying words, he tells the children,
"You're safe now. Santa Claus is gone."
And at the end, the little boy, who I believe is his brother, right?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say it's his brother. Because I think his brother has fucked up teeth. I don't know if that's the same, but that was it later. Yeah. So I'm going to say it is his brother. It
just seems like it would be.
It is, well, based on part 2, yeah, it's solely his brother.
Yeah, at the end, a little boy scowls at the cop and just says,
naughty.
And they do the whole like freeze frame and zoom, which I absolutely love in like 70s and 80s films as a final shot. The freeze frame and zoom always works for me.
Just the keyboard pounding starts and it's the end credits.
And that's it. But yeah, and that's it. So Billy just gets shot in the back by some cops at the end of the movie, which, it works. It's fine.
Yeah. It's a little confused in that, like, if his goal was ultimately to get to kill the Mother Superior, why did it matter that Santa was dead? You know what I mean? Like, it's...
Yeah.
It's confusing, but so was Billy. Billy was a confused man.
Right.
This is a very bleak film.
It is.
It's about, I made the reference to it being like Joker or whatever, because it is about, like, all these institutions that have failed this kid. This Santa
true.
thing. Yeah. It already his insane grandpa... Family stuff has turned against him. Santa has turned against him. He goes to this horribly mean orphanage. The church has turned against him. Tries to get a job. That's not going well. That turns against him. And he's just fighting against this. But it offers no real solutions to that as well, because the one guy who operates outside of institution, stands up for himself, is the gas station owner at the beginning, tries to stand up for himself, gets killed by Santa. So there's just no way out. No one is there to help you. The nun wants to help. She's not there in time. It's all just bleak and deadly and awful. Merry Christmas.
And that really comes through, too, in the way it was filmed, because this movie is This movie's filthy. I fully acknowledge that there are like grimier movies out there than some of these like franchises that we are tending to cover so far. But like this was shot for like $750,000 and it just feels grimy. It feels like a B movie that is just kind of like gross. You know, you mentioned Maniac earlier and it's not as grimy as that. But this one might have like a barrier of entry for some people. Because it is just like, it just feels grosser than like Friday the 13th feels more polished than this, I guess.
I think it kind of exists in this netherverse of like, I think the direction undercuts the writing a bit. Because although like, the writing might not be great in a lot of things, like this idea of this like more fleshed out character and the things happening to him, whatever. But the directorial choices are fairly staid and without sounding pretentious here, like more sort of formalist. Mm-hmm. Whereas like if you had someone like a little bit grittier, or something like a Frank Henenlotter or William Lustig or something like that. Some of the more like exploitation guys thrown at this, man, that would have been amazing. That being said, like it's still fine. It's not necessarily like bad in that regard. I just think it's a little like if they put some stank on it, it would have been a bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I still liked it. I think this is probably only like the third time I've watched it. And before we forget,
yes,
we got to honor our dead. Liquor store clerk, played by Eric Hart, shot by Santa. Jim Chapman, played by Jeff Hansen, shot by Santa. Ellie Chapman, played by Tara Buckman, throat slit by Santa. Andy, played by Randy Stumpf, strangled with Christmas lights. Pamela, played by Tony Nero, torso slit with box cutter. Mr. Sims, played by Britt Beach, claw hammer to the head. Mrs. Randall, played by Nancy Borgenite, shot with bow and arrow. Denise, played by Linnea Quigley, impaled through the back on deer antlers. Tommy, played by Leo Getter, thrown out of window. Mac, played by Richard C. Terry, decapitated with axe. Father O'Brien, played by Spencer Ashby, shot by cop in the back. Officer Barnes, played by Max Robinson, hacked in the chest with an axe. Billy Chapman, played by Robert Brian Wilson, shot twice in the back by Captain Richards. And that's 13.
Wow.
13 deaths in this film. Not all done by Billy. We got some kills up front by the other Santa Claus.
But it's mainly Santa sides.
Right. Santa sides.
That would be killing Santas. So I don't know what you call that. Santa involved homicides.
There you go. So with 13 in the first film, and you know what I'm getting to.
I know what you're getting to.
So there are 5 Silent Night, Deadly Night movies, and there is a 6th one that is technically like a loose remake, which of course we're going to watch. That one's from 2012. How many in the series? Price is Right rules.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to get to Jason Heights.
No.
I think we're probably going to end up, I want to say like close to Final Destination things. I'm going to say 60. I'm going to go an even 60.
That's what I was going to go with. So I'll make it interesting and I'll go 50 just for the sake of going lower. Because I feel like 13 is a lot for this movie.
13's a lot.
I was kind of surprised. And I wonder if they have the budget for all the kills towards the end. You know what I mean? Because with Friday the 13th, they got bigger budgets, which is not always the case. Yeah. Final Destination, probably the same case. I wonder if by the end, like if once we're at like the toy maker, we're just like, oh, there's like 3 kills or something like that.
Right. Or I mean, it could go the other way too, where it's like, well, he's just going to mow people down because we're not really that interested in the story now.
Completely.
So we can just, have all this stuff happen. Which is funny, as a spoiler alert, well, I'm sure we'll get more into this, is that the toy maker stars Mickey Rooney, who is a vocal critic of this movie. Very angry at the whole concept of a murderous Santa. Although, again, not Santa, and there had already been murderous Santa movies. Whatever.
I really do think that that'll be the case of he was pissed off at part 1. He gets cast in part 5, and then they just decide to call it a Silent Night, Deadly Night movie in post-production before they released it, which seems pretty likely for a series like this.
Now, when everything available online all the time, whatever. But like, you could absolutely not have any idea about these other movies that existed. You know, like you could just be like, no, I've never heard of Christmas Evil before. I don't know. I
didn't know that there were 6 Silent Night, Deadly Night movies. Like I've seen the first 2, and so 3 through 6 will be new watches for me on this series.
I've seen the first 3, possibly 4.
Okay.
I don't remember. I actually watched 3 like a year or 2 ago.
Oh, wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah. But it's been a bit since I've seen 2. And like I said, I'm not even sure if I've seen 4. I'm sure like it'll come back to me. What will happen is that seeing 4 will unlock.
I was going to say.
Memories, and I will dress like Silent Night, Deadly Night 4 and go around and murder people because it was that bad.
Or Hazel will come in and you're just sitting there in a full Santa outfit watching these films.
Punish.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, overall, I think this is a pretty solid, like, B, like, literally a B movie. But, like, that would be my letter grade for this one. It's not great. It's got a feel to it, definitely. I kind of wish they would have gone, like, just because he just said punish. That's basically all he says in the latter half of the movie. And I would have really rather had more like Christmas puns, like towards the end of it or something.
Oh, so you wanted to be more of like a Freddy kind of.
A little bit, yeah, because it's already kind of ridiculous. And so I wanted him, I mean, it's called Silent Night, Deadly Night, for Christ's sake. Like it's not a pun, but it's like in that direction. So I wanted a little bit more, I don't know, Christmas puns. And maybe we'll get that in the subsequent films.
Yeah, I mean, what I've seen or what I really remember of 2, and everyone knows the one particular line of 2 that are familiar with this movie, but like it has such a more like gonzo sort of thing that I wish this went into a little bit like, again, like it's this weird sort of limbo space between there's actually like kind of serious movie or more like, you know, more maniac, like this is terrible what's happening and look at this guy and this awful stuff that he's doing, but this is what drove him to it, versus like it's Santa and he's murdering. And it kind of gets lost in there. I kind of wish it went closer to because we spent like half the movie, like 44 minutes of this movie at least, of a not even an hour and a half long movie, going into why this guy is the way he is. And I wish that break would have, if it was going to turn to a slasher, I wish it would have been like more involved with him, because it just seemed like it just then became a slasher movie that he's kind of not really involved in anymore. I mean, like he's obviously the antagonist, but like, he's now just this external figure. We're not following him anymore. It's like, well, he's insane now, so here that goes. So I wish it would have been a little bit more like you're hanging out with him and seeing what's going on.
Yeah, and I wonder if we hang out with him longer, then that obviously takes away from like the more campy like stuff, and like maybe not the Christmas puns angle for everything. But that would kind of fit with a lot of these franchises where you have like the first movie is like actually pretty dark and serious, and it gets campy by the third one. So that kind of fits that pattern. We're
either tired of this and think it's dumb, or, you know, we're out of ideas. It's easier to make fun of what you're doing than to do it seriously.
Well, that's going to do it for Silent Night, Deadly Night. It's the Christmas season. Merry Christmas. We're going to watch 5 more of these, and I'm very excited. And this is not a paid plug. I would love it if they paid us, but you can find all of these on Shudder. So if you're a
with
Shudder
the exception of the first one,
with the exception of the first one, but 2 through 5 are all on Shudder. And if you're listening to this podcast and you really love these movies, pay $6 a month and get a subscription to Shudder. They're so good.
They're available there. I think some of them, or at least 2, I think is available on Tubi. If you don't mind ads,
everything is on
now that
Tubi.
The political season is over. But yeah, watch along. Let us know what you think of these movies. If you've seen them, if you have ever been a Santa in any capacity.
Oh, I would love to know about that.
Yeah.
Have you been a mall Santa? Let us know. And don't let us know if like punishment is a good thing. Cause
don't
just kind of like leave that out of it,
Yeah. And don't murder us.
Yeah,
also, I
please.
would like to say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been in two different locations or situations I can think of where someone I know was playing a Santa at an event, but I myself have never been a Santa.
Yeah. Huh. Have you ever considered?
I mean, I would. Yeah.
Yeah. Just for the hell of it.
I mean, like in this, the COVID stuff,
right?
A little bit less excited to do it now. But,
with COVID on your lap, yeah,
or just like I'm in a bubble, the Santa
bubble, yeah,
or in a hazmat suit with a beard on the outside,
right. So the kids can yank that down.
Yeah.
So follow us on Instagram at This May Hurt a Bit Pod and Twitter at Hurt a Bit, and let us know what you think of these movies and follow along. And this is going to take us on into the end of the year. We'll be back every week for this series.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, Merry Christmas and Silent Night, Deadly Night. This has been a Two Penguins media production. It was produced by James Strayer and edited by John C. Myers. Logo by Ethan Kimberling and music by Michael Arthur Holloway, who you can find on Bandcamp. Follow us on Instagram at This May Hurt a Bit Pod and on Twitter at Hurt a Bit. Email us at thismayhurtabit@gmail.com. And if you are so inclined, rate and review us on your favorite podcast app, and we'll see you next time.